For many people, Firefox is just one of the browser icons sitting on a computer, somewhere beside Chrome, Edge, or Safari. But Firefox is more than a browser option. It is one of the most important survivors from an earlier internet era, when the web was not yet controlled by a small number of giant platforms. Firefox is free, open-source software developed by the Mozilla Foundation and its subsidiary, the Mozilla Corporation. That means its code and mission are tied to a public interest vision of the Internet, not only to advertising, device ecosystems, or operating system lock-in. Its story begins with competition, idealism, and a fight over who gets to shape the web. To understand Firefox, you have to go back to Netscape Navigator, one of the defining browsers of the early World Wide Web. In the 1990s, Netscape helped bring ordinary users onto the Internet, but it eventually lost ground to Microsoft Internet Explorer. Before Netscape was acquired by AOL, the Mozilla community was created in 1998 as a way to keep parts of Netscape's browser work alive in an open-source form. This was a major decision. Instead of browser development being entirely locked inside one company, Mozilla invited a wider community to participate. Firefox later became the spiritual successor to Netscape Navigator, carrying forward the idea that the web should be open, competitive, and built on shared standards. Firefox itself began in 2002 under the codename Phoenix. The name was fitting; it suggested something new rising from the ashes of an older browser era. At the time, Mozilla's main software project was the Mozilla Application Suite, a bundle that included a browser, email client, and other tools. But some members of the Mozilla community wanted something more focused, a standalone web browser that was faster, cleaner, and easier to use. That focus became one of Firefox's earliest strengths. Rather than trying to be an all-in-one internet suite, Firefox aimed to do one thing well: display the web efficiently, securely, and with enough flexibility for users to customize it. When Firefox reached its beta phase, testers quickly noticed that it felt different from Microsoft's Internet Explorer 6, which dominated the market at the time. Internet Explorer was deeply tied to Windows and had become the default browser for huge numbers of users. But dominance had also made it a target for security criticism and slow innovation. Firefox was praised for its speed, security, and add-ons. Add-ons were especially important because they let users modify the browser in ways that felt personal and powerful. For early adopters, Firefox was not just a replacement browser. It was a statement that the web did not have to be experienced only through Microsoft's default window. Firefox officially launched on November 9, 2004, and its arrival was unusually dramatic for a browser release. Within 9 months, it had been downloaded 60 million times. That number mattered because changing browsers requires effort. Users had to hear about Firefox, trust it, download it, install it, and choose it over the program already sitting on their desktop. The launch showed that many people were hungry for an alternative. It also proved that an open-source project could compete in a consumer software market dominated by one of the most powerful companies in the world. Firefox helped make browser choice a mainstream idea again. Under the hood, Firefox uses the Gecko rendering engine to display web pages. A rendering engine is one of the most important parts of any browser. It takes HTML, CSS, JavaScript, images, and other web resources, then turns them into the page you see and interact with. Gecko was built to implement current and anticipated web standards, which is central to Mozilla's philosophy. If browsers follow shared standards, websites can work across different systems instead of being designed only for one company's software. This is why browser engines matter. They are not just technical components. They shape what web developers can build and what users can access. Another key part of Firefox's identity is availability. Today, Firefox runs on major desktop operating systems including Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. Current desktop versions support Windows 10 or later, along with Mac OS and Linux distributions. It also exists in unofficial ports for several Unix and Unix-like systems, including FreeBSD, OpenBSD, NetBSD, and others. On Debian, Ubuntu, and some other Linux distributions, Firefox has often been the default or pre-installed browser. That connection with Linux is not accidental. Both Firefox and Linux are strongly associated with open-source culture, software freedom, and user choice. For many Linux users, Firefox feels like the natural browser companion to an open operating system. Firefox is also available on mobile, but mobile browsers reveal how much platform rules can shape technology. On Android, Firefox has its own mobile version and can use Mozilla's browser technology. On iOS, however, all browsers are required to use Apple's WebKit layout engine. That means Firefox for iOS does not use Gecko in the same way the desktop browser does. To many users, it may still feel like Firefox because it can offer Mozilla's interface, account sync, privacy tools, and brand experience. But technically, the iOS version shows an important limitation. Even when browser choice appears to exist, the underlying engine may still be controlled by the platform owner. Firefox reached its highest usage share in November 2009, when it hit 32.21%. Around that time, Firefox 3.5 overtook Internet Explorer 7 individually, although Internet Explorer as a whole still had multiple versions in use. This was a huge achievement. For a browser that began as a community-driven alternative, reaching nearly a third of the market showed real momentum. Firefox had changed expectations. Users became more aware that browsers could be faster, safer, and more customizable. Web developers also had stronger reasons to care about standards because the market was no longer defined by only one dominant browser. Firefox helped break the browser monopoly mindset. But Firefox's peak was followed by a new and even more powerful competitor, Google Chrome. Chrome launched with a reputation for speed, simplicity, and close integration with Google's web services. As the web moved toward cloud apps, search, video, and mobile synchronization, Google's influence became enormous. Chrome's rise changed the browser market again. Firefox was no longer mainly competing against Internet Explorer's stagnation. It was competing against a fast-moving browser backed by one of the most important internet companies in the world. Over time, Firefox's usage share declined as Chrome became the default choice for many users, developers, and organizations. Mozilla responded to this changing landscape with major technical updates. In November 2017, Firefox began incorporating new technology under the codename Quantum. The goal was not just a cosmetic refresh. Quantum was about performance, parallelism, and a more intuitive user interface. Modern web pages are complex, and browsers need to handle many tasks at once: rendering layouts, running scripts, loading media, managing tabs, and protecting security boundaries. By improving how Firefox used modern hardware and parallel processing, Mozilla aimed to make the browser feel competitive again. Quantum represented Firefox trying to modernize without abandoning its open web identity. As of July 2026, StatCounter reported Firefox at about 6.3% usage share on traditional PCs, making it the third most popular PC web browser after Google Chrome at about 72% and Microsoft Edge at about 10%, ahead of Safari at about 5.2%. Those numbers show that Firefox is no longer the mass-market challenger it was in 2009. But they also show that it remains significant. In a world where most browsers are built on Chromium or controlled by major platform companies, Firefox is one of the few major independent browser choices left. Its importance is not only its market share. It is the pressure it keeps on the web to remain open, standardized, and user-focused. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more explainers.